Estamos aquí con Richard Keane. Hi, Richard, how are you?
Hi, I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you feeling being back in Mexico? You're going to be starting this tour. That's very special. You're celebrating 20 years of hopes and fears, and you're starting right here in Monterrey, in Pal Norte, one of the biggest festivals, not only in the country, but also in the north of Mexico. It's the biggest one over here. So, how are you feeling started it this way?
Yeah, I'm excited. I was just looking at the poster and it looks like a poster for, our biggest festival for Glastonbury. There's so many bands and so many, incredible artists playing. So yeah, it's cool to be coming back to Mexico. It's always a fun place to play. The crowds are the best basically. And so we can't wait. We're doing a few days of rehearsals next week, so I'm excited to see my friends. And hang out. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be super fun.
Did any bands from the lineup catch your eye from this
Well,
color?
my son is a huge Imagine Dragons
Okay.
fan, so that would be great. And I went to see Blink 182 at they played in London a few months ago actually, I think, and I went to see them play. And not for the first time, I've seen them play before, but yeah, I saw them play on their recent tour and they were absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I mean, there's loads of people. I've never seen Kendrick Lamar play, but obviously I know his music is unbelievable, and so I'm excited for that. And also, I think all of us in the band are big Vaccines fans as well, so they're on the same day that we're playing. So with a bit of luck, we'll be able to see a bit of them play too.
Yeah, it's gonna be so exciting with all these bands and you guys headlining. What can we expect? I know it's celebrating 20 years of your first album.
Yeah, so expect an older version of that. Hopefully a little with a bit, we're grown up, so I don't know, we'll hopefully play a few songs from that. Maybe some of the songs that we haven't played for a while on that record. So, it's a festival, so we want to play some songs that, people will have heard on the radio, singles and things. So it's a chance to play music to people who don't necessarily come and see us play, which is a great thing. I guess, a lot of Kendrick Lamar fans will be there. And maybe it's a chance to sort of show them, a bit of our music. So, yeah, I think a mixture of hopes and fears and then, a sort of greatest hits kind of festival set. Hopefully pretty up tempos, get everyone's energy going. Yeah.
Just- And how is it different preparing for a tour for an album and a tour that's celebrating 20 years?
I mean, that's a very good question because you sort of want to celebrate. Well, you don't want to be too nostalgic necessarily. It's for me, it's celebrating the start of a journey as much as it's celebrating that moment in time. So it is celebrating our debut album, but that debut album sort of gave us the chance to do everything we've done since. And so I feel like we're celebrating the journey as much as the specific record. But I it's a chance to revisit an album because you don't tend to listen to music that you've made. I don't drive around London listening to Keane on heavy rotation. Well, I do a little bit now because my son's been listening to it in the car, which is kind of nice. But it's a chance to revisit an album, and there are bits in the record that I've been listening to, sort of some songs that we haven't played live, like On a Day Like Today or Untitled One or Your Eyes Open. And there's some really beautiful things in those songs that I'd sort of forgotten about a little bit. So it's been a really enjoyable journey. But yeah, how's it different? I guess it doesn't have something brand new as such. But then, like I said, there are songs we haven't ever played. So I guess those are new in a way.
Of course, and how does it feel to have created such a timeless anthem? Somewhere only we know it's just timeless. And if I don't know how you managed to do this, but if nostalgia was a song, it's that. Like you just listen to it and you get so melancholic. And I know everyone feels the same way. I was looking at the YouTube comments yesterday, and everyone was like, "It just takes me back to exactly that, to back when things were simpler."
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's an interesting thing that you can't, you couldn't have predicted the rise of social media and the way that smartphones have complicated our lives and stuff. But it's interesting that people say it takes you back to a simpler time. Sorry, my cat is shouting at me, if you can hear him. But yeah, that simplicity, I think the oh simple thing, where have you gone? I think that's a really interesting perspective, that people, that modern life is maybe a little more hectic and a little more intense or connected, or yeah, I that's a really interesting perspective. But how does it feel? I mean, it just feels we feel incredibly lucky that people connected with that song, and it opened so many doors for us, and continues to, and continues to be popular, and that's just kind of mind blowing, because at the time, I don't know. I always think with other bands that the Beatles wrote Love Me Do, that they must have known that it was going to be a smash hit, but I bet they didn't at the time. They probably thought, oh, that's pretty good. But, you don't, I don't think you ever know. And so everything that comes from something is just sort of upside. It's just, surprise. We felt lucky just to be able to record our first album, let alone release it, and then for it to live on, and like 20 years later for people to be celebrating it. So yeah, it's pretty wild that we're still able to play that song and it gets such a reception. And in countries where, English isn't the first language as well, but people will be singing along word perfect, and the lyrics will mean something to people even though they're in another language. So yeah, I don't know. Tim's a clever boy. He wrote a good one.
Yeah, it's just so nostalgic. Like you get that feeling. It takes you back. I have a personal memory attached to it. I was about to graduate middle school and I was like sad because I wasn't gonna see my friends every day anymore. So
Oh,
I was walking around the last day of school listening to that song. And like it was
wow.
dramatic, but when you're a teen, everything's dramatic. So I was just
Of
like
course, and everything is just
soaking
as
in.
valid as, it's the most important thing in your life at that point, and that's huge.
Yeah, and it takes me back and when I wanna feel like I wanna be back to those days, to the simpler days, to just play that song and it takes you back. And I know a lot of people relate. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's just timeless.
It's funny, a friend of mine was in a taxi the other day, and we played a show for a charity called War Child at Shepherd's Bush Empire, and she got in the taxi and said, can you take me to Shepherd's Bush Empire? And the taxi driver said, oh, who's on? Who are you going to see? And she said, Keane. And he said, oh, I love Keane. And he said that he and his wife have a somewhere only they know, that even their kids don't know about. It's this little spot of grass next to Tower. I think it's next to Tower Bridge in London. There's this little bit of grass, and he said they once in a while they go into town and they get fish and chips to eat, and they take it to this little spot of grass next to Tower Bridge, and that's their somewhere in Ueno. And like I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it because it's so special. So yeah, I love that. And I love that it takes you back to that moment, graduating middle school. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just a very beautiful feeling. And like you said, it transcends generations. And speaking of, impacting people and all, I have a fun question from a very big fan of yours here in Monterrey. Her name is Tanya. She has her band and everything, and she's very inspired by you. She wants to know, how did you feel like the reception after you took this small pause and then you came back in 2013? How did you feel like this reception with The Way I Feel?
Yeah, when The Way I Feel came back out, yeah, because it's a pretty dark song. I mean, it's a song about mental health, really, and it's yeah, but it's one of those kind of classic, sounds quite uplifting in a way, but is quite dark song. And honestly, we didn't really know what people would think, so yeah, we felt very lucky that we'd got the chance to reconnect with people. It really didn't feel like we were ever going to make that record. And then Tim just wrote these songs, and the music, we were all so excited about this group of songs that, and Tom especially, wanted to come back and make another record. And so it sort of all feels like a bonus at the moment. Like everything since 2013 or 14 or whenever it was that we sort of pressed pause, everything since then feels like it's just a bonus.
And speaking of 20 years of hopes and fears, what would you say to your 2004 self? Like, what advice would you give? What would you say to him?
Keep a diary, take more photos. I took a few, but I wish I'd taken more, and I wish I'd kept a little diary. And try and enjoy the moment a little bit more. I think when you're starting out, you're always looking for what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing, and sometimes it's hard to stay in the moment and just enjoy today. And so yeah, that's what I would give. That's the advice I would give.
And what has been like the biggest or the hardest lesson throughout all these years?
Um, Early on, I think I think I mistook the idea that it's important that you are somewhere at a certain time with being important. I think I think with the best will in the world, it's easy to get a little bit carried away with you know, your own ego. And so I think humility is a pretty good one. But also, the thing that keeps us together is our friendship. And so, checking in with each other and caring about each other is a very genuine part of this band. And I think I've learned that through it all, it's about the three of us and now the four of us, as friends. And when we are just in a room together making music, it's as fun now as it ever has been. So yeah, that's the thing. When I think of Keane, I think of my friends.
Any plans besides celebrating 20 years of hopes and fears?
Yeah, I mean, we've been, Tim is always writing songs, he's always sending things around, and, we've been enjoying just messing around, hanging out in the studio and, just playing around, playing some songs really, but without a big plan. But at the end of this year, I think we'll have done a lap of the planet and, we're um, maybe it'll be time to stay at home for a while and maybe get in a studio. I don't know. We'll see. I would like to do that.
And now we're about to start this tour and we're about to celebrate the beginning of everything here in Monterrey at Pal Norte. Any message that you have for the fans that are waiting to see you?
Honestly, we can't wait to get over there. We always have a blast in Mexico, and we're thrilled that we can come and play this festival. It looks unbelievable. So I'm so excited to get over there and actually see what it's like. But yeah, see you there.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for your time, and we can wait to have you here and celebrate Hopes and Fears and celebrate King's music.
Thank you. Appreciate it.